Hey guys, James at Kartz-N-Fartz. Wanted to do a little video on a Plum Quick motor. So this is a 2013 Club Car Precedent that I just sold, and my customer wanted to upgrade a few things. He's going to add seat belts, but the main deal, he wants to add a Plum Quick motor. His biggest concern was torque. So I usually do my videos with my cell phone. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take a picture of the speed, you know, or monitor it going up hills on the video, but I will take some pictures. But I'm going to show you how to add a Plum Quick motor. Pretty simple deal. If you're local to Columbia, South Carolina, or Lexington, South Carolina, I do keep these in stock. So I do a lot of Plum Quick upgrades. So let's do a before and after, and let's see what kind of results we get. So to start with, this 2013 Club Car has C1. So that is March of 2021. It is now, I guess it is March. It is March of 2023, so that's 2 years old. So these are 2-year-old Trojans, and these are T875s, fully charged, standard cables. Let's go take a drive, see what it does. Now, obviously, but I better go ahead and say it before you get started. Let's go ahead and pull off the positive, the main positive, and the main negative. Just pull that completely off, so there's absolutely no juice running back there to the motor wires. And also, I've already flipped my run tow switch to off. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, guys, we're getting ready to start pulling the motor off, but I wanted to show you, when you get one in, it's going to be in a purple box like this. I'm going to flip the camera around here, and we're going to do a little unboxing. All right, so when I get mine, I get these, 4 or 5 at a time, but I drop them off and actually wait the 6 to 8 weeks. But it's got my name on there, Carolina Motors, but I'm sure they'll ship it the same way. So when you open it up, it's gonna have pretty good packing in here. And that's gonna protect this motor. Pull this out with one hand. They do have a handle on it. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna have to put the camera down. There we go. So the bottom of the box has a place for the armature. You see all that is nice and shiny. They do a real good job cleaning it and also powder coating it. I mean, it looks like a brand new motor, doesn't it? So we are gonna switch the speed sensor off on the edge. My understanding, Plum Quick does put a new magnet on all of these also, so you don't wanna reuse your old one. You wanna use what they give you. And then we're going to remove this one here off of this Club Car Precedent, and you can see the little top hat design. So that's going to be our next step, is to pull the motor. All right, guys, the tools that you're going to need to swap this motor out is going to be a 1/2 inch open end closed end wrench and a 7/16. I happen to have the ratchet wrench, gear wrench brand, but whatever works for you. Also, this little thin wrench. Now, this is, again, 1/2 inch on one side and 7/16 on the other, but look how super thin it is. And what that helps with is holding these nuts right here. What you don't want to do is these studs to spin underneath there. So you'll use that to hold it while you snug up the other bolts. And the Plum Quick, every time I get one, they tend to give me brand new nuts on there. I mean, it looks like a brand new motor. They did a real good job. Now, it's going to be a lot easier putting it in place with the handle than it is going to be taking the other one out. But you can. This one's a 6-inch lift. I'm not a very big guy. I can, squeeze underneath there without a jack. But these are basically the only tools that I'm going to need to take the motor out. Once I get the motor out, then we're going to use another tool, either a flathead screwdriver, or I think it's a 5/16, but we'll check out what size this one has on there to move the speed sensor top hat on top of the end of the motor. So next step is for me to get underneath there and take those out. I'll show you another little secret that I like to do to the motor. So this other secret is to, let me spin around here where the sun's shining on it. Can you see where the threads, there's gonna be 3 bolts that hold in those 7/16. So I take my Sharpie and I put myself a little line, because once you get it slid on there, then you gotta kind of slide it around to match it up. And realistically, as soon as you get one of those marks on there, the other ones are gonna be exactly on the same. Plum Quick will tell you, do not use the 7/16 bolt to pull the motor onto the rear end. That's a no-no. So as you wiggle it and shake it up and down, it will slide all the way in, and as you start to tighten these down, you'll actually be tightening the motor, not using it like a press to pull it in. So be sure you don't do that. So the next step is to get the old motor off, and then we'll switch over the speed sensor and top hat while we've got the motor off. Okay guys, I'm gonna slide underneath here with my wrenches, and let's see if we can break this motor loose. So these bolts are going to be about that long. There's 3 of them. So far, so good. I got 2 of them loose. There we go. Let's get the 3rd one. You can tell with this 6-inch lift, and unless you got a bigger head than me, you can usually slide underneath here. And already the motor is loose. So now I'm going to unplug the speed sensor. Just being a little bit of a booger. Got it. Now I'm going to take my wrenches, and at this point, since the motor's loose, I can kind of shift it forward. And yes, there is a green and an orange. Actually, let me show you that. All right, so I got my bolts loose, 2 from the back, 1 I slid underneath here, and I can see it pretty easily. I unplugged my speed sensor, little triangle right there. So we'll remove the top hat with the rest of these wires once we get the motor off. But I can take the motor, and now it's rotating on the armature, pull it forward, and now I'm going to take my tapping wrench, hold the inside, and remove these outside nuts and take those wires off. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, got all my wiring harness loose. I'm just gonna kind of lay it over here to the side. Now what I do is try to position myself underneath there. I'm gonna slide it off of the rear end and gently lay it down. And I usually push it up and down. You'll notice just a tiny bit of slop, not a lot. So now try to get myself in a position to where I don't pinch my hands. And there you go. So it's pretty heavy. I don't know, I'm gonna guess it 45, 50 pounds, I don't know. But it's so awkward. So now we're going to slide it out. There we go, right there. So there's our old motor. So now we need to take these off, and these are little hex-headed bolts. Let me get my wrench and see what size that is. All right, so let's try this 5/16. Dead on it. And I didn't even need a ratchet. A little nut driver worked out fine. And don't lose those nuts. I'm always very cautious not to put any, they look like they're fine thread, put anything in here that's going to go further into the case than it needs to. So I've got my two 5/16 nuts off. Now let's put it on the Plum Quick motor. So we've got the Plum Quick motor over here. And let's see here the position it was in. So probably, I think this here is the position it was in, like this. Yep. And we'll pop that speed sensor on there. So, I'm not in focus, am I? Let's see here. Can you see it there? Yeah, I think you can now. So all it does is slide right on there in the same position. This is a plastic housing. So you don't have to put it on tight like you're getting ready to tighten up a wheel, but you don't want to crack the housing, but you want it snug enough where it's not going to fall out. Got it. So it's on there tight. So now I'm ready to lift it up and place it back on the shaft. Now you're going to see, once I get it up there, how these little marks are going to. So I got my speed sensor on there. Now I'm just going to manhandle this thing, get it on top of the axle, slide it on the shaft, and look for my marks so I can put my 7/16 bolts in there. So again, just a little awkward, not crazy heavy. This handle does make it easier. Almost got it. Now wiggling it up and down to get it in there. And there it is. So now I'm just looking for my marks. And also on these club cars, the handle is pretty much about straight up and down. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so here it is laid up in there. You can see it's rotating on that armature. And if you look, this little bulge is where the bolt goes, and you see my marks. So I'm just gonna line it up. Take my bolt, it's got a lock washer on the end of it. Lucky me, went straight in. So let's grab another one. And obviously I don't have to look for that one, so it's gonna be straight in also. And it is, it's going. And guys, if you notice, my case is right up against there. It might be a slight gap, but I'm gonna wiggle it some more once I get this snugged in. So now let's get my other one. Let's slide underneath here. Sorry about the one-handed video. So there's my other one. And of course the sun is shining right in my garage as I'm filming this. But we're gonna keep on going with it. Wiggle it a little bit, make sure it's all the way on there. You can see my F2, A2, A1, F1. If you remember, I had the orange and the green, I believe, on this side, and the blue and white on this side. The harness is right there. And another thing you can tell, like the blue and white. So the terminal end is smaller on the blue wire than what it is on the white wire. So your speed sensor, it goes right across the top. So let me get that bolted up. Okay guys, I got the wires just kind of laid up there. So now is where I'm gonna use my tappet wrench, and I'm gonna have to have two hands, but I'm gonna hold this one while I tighten this outside nut. All right guys, so I got them all snugged up. And I do want to mention one other thing. I've only had this happen one time, and I've installed a lot of these Bandit motors. If for some crazy reason it goes forward when the switch is in reverse and reverse when the switch is in forward, you'll switch these signal wires, which are the blue and the orange. That's straight on the Plum Quick website. So hopefully you don't run across that problem. But even if you do, you don't need to take the motor off. There's plenty enough room for them to stretch out. You do want to disconnect the battery cables. So now let's go up. All right, guys, it's a wrap. So there it is, Club Car Precedent limo cart. This particular one here, not sure if I mentioned it earlier, has 2-year-old Trojan batteries. Good battery pack, excellent battery pack. I installed the Plum Quick Bandit motor on there. My customer is actually looking for more torque, not necessarily top end speed. So I climbed the same hill before and after. I'm doing all this with one phone, so I couldn't video it, but it was climbing the hill at 15 miles an hour and it was topping out around 18 miles an hour. Now it's climbing that hill at 18 miles an hour and it's topping out at 26. On a couple little runs, I did get 27 out of it. That's not typical. Usually you'll get, you know, the 20% more, but that's a pretty big gain for this big old girl right here. So I have teamed up this Plum Quick Bandit motors with the Eco battery, and that's pretty consistent, 29, 30 miles per hour top end. So talking with the guys down there at Plum Quick, and if you're watching the video, chime in on the comments, but they don't like to see these motors turn over about 31 miles an hour. So I mean, that's kind of pushing it. So if you want to go faster than 31, go ahead and step up to a Navitas and be done with it. But for the bang for the buck, I can tell you right now, it's definitely worth the money. So here at Kartz-N-Fartz, I do keep these Plum Quick motors for Club Car Precedents in stock. Occasionally I'll have an Easy-Go motor. So I'll add it right now. I'll add into the video how to get in touch with me. You can reach me on my cell phone number, or you can reach me on the website or email me at james@kartz-n-fartz.com. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. It's really it takes me a whole lot more time to film it and put it on there than it actually does to put it on there. The biggest kicker is you got to wait for the time for them to rebuild it. So one other thing I want to mention, never, ever, and ask me how I know because I did one this way, never jack this thing up on jack stands and see how fast it's going to go. It will sling the motor out. So don't do that. That's not under warranty. Plum Quick does a very good job on what to expect out of these motors and what they cover under warranty and what they don't cover under warranty. So anyway, Club Car Precedent, Plum Quick. If you need some help, get in touch with me. Thanks for tuning in.